So this right here is a 26-liter GR2. This is a made in Vietnam version from GORUCK. And this is actually a nice little spot as far as splitting the difference between a good everyday carry bag, travel bag, and kind of what have you. Primary purpose behind having this one was to maximize, within all the dimensions across most of the domestic airlines, the personal item space underneath the seat. So when I do travel, and I can get away with it, everything I would prefer to have under the seat with me at all times, not having to worry about the overhead cabin space, which tends to disappear very quickly. You're running into a check bag scenario, which can then lose to a lost bag. And that's happened. So if I can get away with it, I'm stuffing everything into one bag that I can have underneath the seat at all times. And in these dimensions, about 18 inches tall, and the height and depth, this is across most of your domestic airlines about adequate to get in there. And we haven't had the opportunity to travel with this just yet, but looking forward to doing so in the future. So at 5'10", about 205, about a 17.5-inch long torso, this is how it looks for me based off of a 7-day travel setup for me. So you can tell, even packed out, we still have plenty of room before we start to get into the belt line. So this is actually a pretty comfortable carry. It's the same GR1 straps, same overall setup, but it's in that nice, I think, perfect rectangle shape. Because we have the clamshell ability, packing it is super, super fast. The addition, this is my first one that I really worked with that has a quick access pocket, was something that I was not initially a fan of, but I do find that if you're using this for EDC, this is actually it is a quick access pocket. This is actually a very, very handy thing. Sometimes losing that bladder pass through, I feel like it limits it to kind of the softer things in life as opposed to rucking or doing most outdoor stuff with it. But it seems like as far as their product line goes, they're envisioning this to not really be used for those purposes anymore. I kind of miss having the bladder pass through so you could use it for just multiple things. This kind of constrains you a little bit, but you can work around that. As far as what I have in here, I have just kind of a generic 7-day pack out, assuming that you're just wearing all the clothes for the travel day, and then everything else is for about 6 days in here. So we have some kind of toiletries, a Sea to Summit stuff sack. This is where the rolled up socks and underwear will go. 6 pairs of tops and t-shirts, and then jeans, sweatpants, anything bulky like a sweater will go here. And that's just the main compartment. It holds all that pretty easily. I don't have a single thing in that front compartment. So this is where we can have the addition of, all right, I need heavier stuff. If I want to have a tech-specific or a hygiene-specific spot, I can use that one pocket for that purpose. The built-in field pocket up here, this is kind of what drives people crazy a lot of times when it comes to the GR2. I have used the 34-liter GR2 pretty extensively for years in the past. And what I find is it's usually better to set up your zippers so you've got the outer layer going one way, so that as soon as you open it up, you can immediately grab the next one and have that quick access. I usually reverse it, so we'll kind of leave these this way and that outer layer this way. So by the time I open, I'm already right at the zipper for the next. Now I can quickly access anything that I need, and then I just reverse that. And it's a pretty simple, seamless process with a little bit of practice. So what it does mean is that with all the extra layers, there's a lot more zippers going on. There's more stuff to kind of deal with. This can either be no problem, or this can be a deal breaker, as opposed to something like the M23, where you're just popping these 2 buckles and then you have pretty much, well, immediate access to everything that you may need. More of a bucket. Some people prefer this one, or the 26-liter GR1. So both of these are listed at the same exact capacity. So we will take that same load out from here, transfer it into here, and see the difference. All right, so that same exact loadout is transferred into my 26-liter GR1. So for comparison purposes, we'll do our little 360. And as far as how all that packed into here, we still have some dead space and some room. So neither one of these is maxed out by any stretch. So with the 26-liter GR2, we have a whole second layer with some organizational possibilities and, stuffing greater layers. Here we just kind of have some dead space that could be filled. So you could mash some more stuff on here. You do lose some of the stuff on the organizational front. So again, it's a giant bucket, but the same stuff does fit in there without any problem. So for either one of these, or even that M23, I could do generally a 7-day pack out for most places. So a lot of this will come down to how do you prefer to get there? Would you prefer the bucket style versus a multiple compartment style for the organization? And then also the size. So all things being equal, on your back, they will always be at the same height. It's just going to come down to is the length. So you're looking at about 2 inches hanging lower on your back. Packed out wise and cinching the straps, for me, it wasn't really a big issue at, say, reasonable weights. When you start getting into the beyond 30+ pound range, this does tend to ride lower, lower, lower on my frame, where something like a hip belt would be recommended just for comfort and stability. So this isn't kind of swaying and driving that sacral area kind of nuts. That you can bypass pretty well with this, which makes it, I think, for personal item travel, pretty much the way to go. EDC wise, still does pretty well. So for my purposes, on the EDC front, this works well because I have a lot of options. So depending on the day, my work location may change and I may have to take a vehicle. So this may have to get shoved in between seats. I may have to add a laptop and a toolkit and some additional stuff, which may not fit quite as well into something like the M23 or the 26-liter GR1. I've done it, but the packing experience is much different. This is much easier in general. So that same quick access, well, relatively quick access, built-in fuel pockets where I keep sunglasses, small things like that, and I just reverse the direction of the zippers. And the main compartment then is where I would have coffee, lunch, and water. Still got my ballistic plate in there. And then if I need to add my toolkit, I can go wherever. The laptop can still ride in the laptop compartment, and we have no issues and a relatively small profile. Not nearly as gargantuan as the 34-liter GR2. So for one bag, and that could be one bag travel or just general purposes, I think the GR2 26-liter does offer quite a bit. It's a very highly versatile bag. And I do like it now in this factor where we have the 1000D nylon and the 210D. I did have the all 500D version at one point, and it was just generally too floppy, just all over the place, especially when you're mangling this many zippers. There's just too much give, and it ended up being more of a pain than anything else. But I do really like this version for a lot of different purposes. This is the spendy version for sure, but if you're picking one to do multiple different things, it's hard to go wrong with something like this.